should be here to welcome them and to interact with these people who have gone ahead, experienced journalism nationally, internationally, as we prepare for 2027 election especially. It's important to sit down and
this
talk.
election matter.
Yeah, and talk about how to make
How are you looking up to the conference?
Rock.
Yeah, having the likes of Ayo Maro and Sheun Akibonwole. So it's a great one, and I'm also calling on every journalist around the state to ensure they attend this media conference. It's a great one.
All right, we keep looking forward to it. Viewer, I'll just sit by and stay with us as we bring you our events for today, starting with news update, and success will do justice to that. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Good morning and welcome to News Update on Morning Dew. The Delta State government has indefinitely suspended the Commissioner for Works, Highways and Urban Roads, Honorable Uzeze Ruben Yakubu, with immediate effect. The suspension was announced in a statement at the Secretary to the Governor, Delta State, Dr. Kingsley Emu. According to the statement, the decision is to allow security agencies conduct an impartial investigation into allegations linking the Commissioner to the alleged assault of Senior Special Assistant on Protocol, Mr. Simeon Moody, also known as Tempo, at the Petroleum Training Institute, PTI, EFRU. The state government said the suspension is an administrative measure to ensure the investigation is carried out without interference. It reaffirmed its commitment to public safety, law and order, and the protection of lives, stressing that principle applies even when government institutions are involved. The government did not state how long the investigation would take or when the commissioner might be reinstated. Talks on xenophobia. South Africa's Consul General in Nigeria, Professor Bobby Morrell, has rejected claims that xenophobia is prevalent in South Africa, despite long-standing concerns over attack involving Nigerians and other foreign nationals. Speaking during an interview on Nigeria Info FM, Morrow said the South African government condemns violence against both citizens and foreigners, regardless of their immigration status. He acknowledged concerns among Nigerians over the treatment of their compatriots in South Africa, but argued that issues such as unemployment, poverty, and inequality do not justify attacks on foreigners. Morrell also compared the situation to Nigeria's past deportation of undocumented West African migrants, particularly Ghanaians, during the period associated with the Ghana Must Go episode. The diplomatic maintained that South Africa remains committed to protecting everyone within its borders, regardless of nationality, while challenging the tendency to associate xenophobia mainly with South Africa. And now on entertainment, Nigerian media personality Frank Edoho has said he does not intend to remarry or enter another serious romantic relationship. Edoho made the disclosure on X after attending the white wedding of TikTok content creator Habib Hamza, popularly known as Pella, and Elizabeth Amado, known as Jarvis. At the wedding, Edoho was asked to offer marital advice to the couple based on his experience, but he declined and insisted, wishing them a happy and peaceful union. His response sparked reactions online, with some users suggesting that his marital experiences made him reluctant to offer advice. Responding to one of the comments, Edoho said he has found happiness in being alone and has no plans to seek another partner. He wrote that there is a superpower that comes with being alone, adding that he is definitely not finding any woman for marriage or a serious relationship. Edoho was previously married to broadcaster Catherine Obiang before marrying Sandra Edoho in 2013. His second marriage ended in December 2022, but was publicly made known early 2026. And now on sports, England captain Harry Kane has won the European Golden Shoe for the 2025-2026 season after finishing as the leading league goal scorer in Europe. The Bayern Munich striker was confirmed as the winner on Monday following another prolific campaign for the club and country. Kane scored 73 goals across the 2025-2026 season, including 12 for the England national team. His latest achievements adds to an impressive individual season as the former Tottenham Hotspur forward continues to rank among Europe's most prolific strikers. Kane has also strengthened his place in England's football history with his performances at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, further adding to his international record. The European Golden Shoe is awarded annually to the player who scores the most goals in Europe's top domestic league. Now on the foreign scene, the European Union has denied reports that it rejected an invitation to monitor Nigeria's 2027 general election. In a statement by its ambassador to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Gerta Magnot, the UE said the report was inaccurate and had its accepted an invitation from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The EU said it received a formal invitation on April 17, 2026, and responded on July 28, confirming plans to deploy an electoral expert mission, EEM, made up of 2 to 4 independent experts. According to the EU, the mission will assess Nigeria's electoral process against international, regional, and national democratic standards and later issues recommendations. The EU dismissed claims that worsened insecurity and the alleged hostile treatment of its officials after the 2023 election report influenced its decision, describing such claims as speculations. It also reaffirmed its commitment to supporting democratic governance and the electoral processes in Nigeria, while urging major practitioners to verify information with its press and communication office before publication. We wrap it here for news updates. You are still watching Morning Dew. Plenty more to come after this break. Stay with us.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Yes, welcome back. And of course, the papers are ready for 7. We're looking at the headlines. Geregu's bond default puts unaudited results under market microscope. That is from Business Day. And of course, NERC dissolves Kaduna Disco's board over 456 billion naira debts. Still on Business Day, we have Nigeria's solar boom runs on imports it cannot afford to cut. All that from Business Day.
Now, moving over from Business Day to Daily Trust, we have one major headline here says, Opposition revives coalition against Tinubu. And that's all for Daily Trust.
And from Daily Trust, let's move on to Nigerian Tribune. We have quite a number of headlines above the masthead. Troops rescue 33 kidnapped passengers in Zamfara. Foil ISWAP attack on military base in Borno. Experts flag debt servicing crisis as Nigeria grapples with 159.35 trillion naira bill. Say citizens may pay for it through additional taxes. G100 begins consultations, meets Atiku, Obi, others, fixes Unity Summit for next week. And we have this major one on Nigerian Tribune. NLC, that's the Nigerian Labour Congress, women demand free peaceful poll in Osun. Adeleke's wife leads women once against indiscriminate arrest, harassment. NLC advises against intimidation of workers, pensioners. NSCDC deploys 10,210 personnel, tactical units, and a lot more. Of course, also Atiku, Mark, Arebosola rally votes for ADC candidates. We also have this one on health. Lassa fear cases hit 1,000. Death toll rises to 237. And on climate change withdraws Africa's malaria map. East Africa, hardest hit. These are the topical stories on Nigerian Tribune. Just to add quickly, apprehension over looming food crisis. That's a topical story we should take note of. Farmers can't access farmlands in Kebbi, Sokoto, Benue, Plateau, others. Insecurity pushes farmers into poverty, worsening food production. That's coming from the NBF.
Now, let's take a look at what the Daily Times is reporting. NERC sacked Kaduna Disco Board over non-remittance of 456 billion naira. We have here above the masthead saying EU denies rejecting INEC invitation to observe Nigeria's 2027 election. Subsidy could have cost 53 trillion naira, pushed naira to 3,500 per dollar. That's coming from NRS, and that's all for the Daily Times.
All right, over now to The Guardian. On The Guardian, we have opposition kicks as states hike permits, tighten campaign rules. Then, of course, above the banner headline, we have 2027, Atiku, Obi, Makinde, others may forge alliance against Tinubu. NERC takes over Kaduna Disco, over 456.5 billion naira debts. We have EU clarifies 2027 election rule as in misreport. Reactions expose concerns. Osho report reveals 29 deaths from 73 incidents ahead of polls. That's all we have from The Guardian.
Okay, moving on to The Nation. I don't need campaign DG job to deliver Tinubu in Rivers State, and that's coming from the FCT Minister Wike. EU to send observers mission for 2027 election. Amzat, Lagos needs bigger budget to meet infrastructure demand. Security rescue victims in Enugu kidnappers den raid. Now the banner headline here says, Battle for Osun Hot Hub. And that's all for The Nation.
Over now to the Punch, and just beside the banner head, we have 7 states. FCT borrow 355 billion naira in 3 months. Osun election, sensitive materials arrive Oshobo, 30,000 core members mobilized. Soldiers guard Osun INEC office as 25,310 security personnel deployed for poll. Adeleke's wife leads protest against alleged arrest and violence. CSOs, others raise fears over INEC's new result system. Recapitalization is in the news. Federal government orders NICOM to stop disputed fees. Visa processing shift won't affect Abuja embassy operations. That's coming from the US. We also have on 2027 election, opposition parties begin talks on single candidate. Oyo pastor arrested for allegedly defrauding 18 members. And of course, on oil matters, Dangote, NUPRC differ over second quarter crude supply. That's on the Punch.
Now let's take a look at the front page of Vanguard. We have above the masthead, we have WAFCON shame. More reasons Tinubu should act fast on football. Gridlock, anguish as farmers, motorists groan. Babangida Disu, Osoba, headline. Vanguard's 40-year chronology launch. Now we have a topical headline here say why we planned coup against Tinubu. Says he acted out of patriotism, frustration with Nigeria. We can't react now. Case still in court. Atiku Obi Duke's alliance exercise in futility. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger alliance slams Tinubu over insecurity remarks. Nigerians not feeling impact of increased allocation. That's a Methodist Church FG talking there. Methodist Church talking to the federal government. Visa applications from Nigeria to South Africa double despite xenophobic attack. Atiku Mark World Osun voters as Aregbesola predicts victory for ADC. And that's all we could take for the Vanguard.
All right, finally, we have
Empire
newspaper. Says tears solemnity as remains of Archbishop Akubeze arrive Benin airport standstill. Right, court documents. Maji says group plan to topple Tinubu over subsidy, insecurity, and others. Tragedy in Aba, 8 months after wedding, wife stabs husband to death. That's all we have from the papers this morning. And of course, when we come back, we shall be looking at some of the headlines and analyze them in the interest of all of us. Stay with us. Wake up with us every morning.
We bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Yes, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are moving over to some of the headlines we read out to you to look at them. And of course, we already have Dr. Ambrose Iboke in the studio.
Good morning.
Good to see you. I like this, your head girl. It's a statement.
It's a Nigerian statement.
You're welcome this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right. Where do we start from? Let's start from here. Those confessing about the coup plot are saying we wanted to topple Tinubu because of insecurity, because of removal of subsidy. Is there any justifiable reason for a coup in the Nigeria of today?
No, even in the Africa of today, there's no justification for coup.
Okay.
I'm a student of history, and I know Nigeria's history like back of my hand. And over the years, the military has always come in Africa to say that they are redeeming the masses, redeeming the nation. They will list all kinds of things. I've listened to a lot of coup speeches. And you find out that when they get in there, they become worse than the people they overthrew. When we come, they said the first coup in Nigeria was caused remotely by the Western Region Parliament election in 1964. That led to killing of people through wetting them with kerosene in a banner called Operation Wettie. And from there, it's escalated. And because the federal government then, I think the NPC or something, was trying to force a candidate on the Western region. Okay. And that was what caused all the whole thing. That even saw someone like Awolowo thrown in jail and all those things. And then, because of the crisis, 1 year plus later, 15 January, just after Christmas, 15 January 1966, some hot-headed young soldiers just did a coup. Then, led by, the coup was led by Zogo, but also from almost everybody from every part of the world. People want to change history, call it Igbo coup, but it's a fallacy, it's a lie. Yeah. Adeboyega was there. Many of the Adeboyega, most of them were there. And, they wrote their Why We Struck, for example. Some people. So let's not twist history. It was a coup by soldiers and they did. But again, all the things they reeled out, they didn't do it. And before you knew it, they suspended this constitution and invoked a unitary system of government. We were enjoying our federal structure, which was the real federal structure then, where the regions were independent and then pay tax to the center. And all of a sudden, these guys changed it to a command and control structure the way the military is run. And we have not changed from that till today. It has plagued us till today. So
that's what brought us to where we are now.
Where we are. And then they were ruling by decrees and the rest. And they got even more corrupt. It was them it was during the military era that they said, our problem is not how to make money, but how to spend it. And that was all kinds of the All-African Gate, First Tax 77, wasted our resources, frittered them away. And finally, they killed the industry that they built. They killed it. By the time we are running up SAP and coming to Abacha, our industries were gone and dead, even the refineries and the rest. When you listen to all the coup also in other African countries, you'll find out that they're just popular speeches, and where they're going, they become entrenched even in the corruption. Yeah. So it doesn't. So it becomes an avenue for just tussle power, killing people you don't like, and all those kind of things. So coup is never the answer. And I don't think African countries will be fooled. Look at Traore that they are praising. Yeah. Look at all the guys in Mali and all those guys. They have suspended the constitution. They have changed the constitution to make them participate in the election and then become life presidents. That's what they do. That's what they do. And that's how Mobutu Sese Sekos of this world came in. That is how Robert Mugabe of this world came in, and all those people. So it's the same script. So they are not, the military in terms of political, this thing is not the savior. And it has been proven all over the world. So the military should stick to their core duties, which is protecting the territorial integrity of the nation and protecting the citizen from external aggression. That is their primary and core duty. Any other thing outside that, they should not go there.
Yeah. If you look at the history of coups in Africa, and of course, people's permutation about coups, they say that they are sponsored from the outside by the Western world to remove any leader. You know, take the case of, you're talking about Blaise Compaoré, who
Thomas
who removed
Sankara.
his friend Thomas Sankara.
Yes.
Talk about other leaders who
Our
were
own
removed.
Murtala Mohammed.
Murtala Mohammed, for instance.
Yes.
So now, this one, are we sure that we don't have monkey hand inside the soup?
No, mostly every coup has financiers.
Okay.
It could be internal, it could be external. The Gideon Oka coup had financiers.
Yeah.
The Babangida coup on 27th August 1985 had financiers. The Buhari coup, 31st December 1983, had their coups. And also the 29th July 1975 coup of Murtala Mohammed also had their financiers. The same way with 16th January 1966. Then there were, even in 1960, there were two coups. There was a counter coup, July 29th, 1966, that killed Ironson. So all these things have financiers. And most of the time, financiers could be local and could be international. It could have an international dimension. The way, for example, in the 1960s, between 60 and 69, 70, a lot of African leaders were killed by CIA, by different... A good example is Patrice Mulumba, who was even killed by the Belgian forces and the rest. And they say even his body disintegrated in acid. And so these are the things. Emperor Haile Selassie in 1974 was also assassinated. Sadat. So many other people in Africa, Kwame Nkrumah, a lot of other people. What brought in Jerry Rawlings as president of Ghana. So a lot of these things, happen in African region. But now, a coup is no more fanciful. That is why the Russians that backed Traore and some other people in the that went out of ECOWAS, they are trying everything possible to make propaganda because it was not, it became elusive. But I think what can stop coup in Africa is not allowing the coupists to sit on the table with democratically elected people.
Okay.
And that has been the problem. The African Union, the ECOWAS and everybody, they are giving the coup plotters a space in the Committee of Nations. It's very wrong. It should be banned that once you're a coupist and you have a legitimately elected government, then you should not be allowed to be part of AU or ECOWAS or any sub-regional body. Then there are civilian coupists, apart from military coupists.
Yeah.
The civilian coupists are the presidents that refuse to hand over when they're supposed to hand over.
Okay.
So they are coupists as well.
Tight.
They are committing coup and treasonable felony against the country because how can you have you are supposed to serve 2 terms, you change the constitution, you serve a 3rd term, 4th term, and make yourself life president. There was one of them, Tobia of Cameroon recently, in his sick bed or wherever he is in Switzerland, changed his service chiefs from anywhere. And since 1981, he has been ruling. So these are the things. And Tobia will come and sit in AU meetings and all that. So the civilian coup
can even sit now.
The civilian coup
is very senile.
But his appointing is changing cabinets. So that shows you what is happening. So they should not be even allowed. So both the military coupists and the civilian coupists should not be allowed to have a table.
For the purpose of information, we have a situation in Mali, Niger, and people are applauding them. This young boy that took over in Mali, there's another one in Burkina Faso, and of course Niger. Africans are saying they are doing very well. They are pulled out.
They are not doing anything well. Africans have been fooled by AI-generated content by Russia propagandists because Russian propagandists are the people behind them. And there's what we call disinformation and misinformation.
Okay.
All those things you see, why is it always AI? Or photo of Traore? We will never say it. They'll go and take a picture of a bridge somewhere in Europe and say it's Traore that is building it in Burkina Faso. They'll go and take this thing and they'll use the same voiceover, AI generated, to get all the story. These are disinformation by Russian propaganda.
I don't know how smooth he is in speaking English.
It's not true. Those things are just drama and content created by Russian propagandists to make it look as though they are doing well because Russian is backing them. They are not doing well. The same Burkina Faso guy that played this guy Traore is already changed the constitution. He will contest. And then he'll remove this military uniform. Just the same script. They're not even clever about it. You see the same script of 50, 60 years ago, they are still doing. He will change the constitution and then will make himself life president.
Yes.
And that is how they start young. How old is this guy is 92, Pobia. No, they take it back by 50 years or so. You see how old he was when he was
a young man.
So these are the things that we Africans should not be fooled about.
Okay, but the question here is, if the government of the day is actually doing the right thing, talking about reforms now, and the people are not feeling that reform, and also talking about, every other, like having budgets for essentials, and yes, the people are still not feeling it, would that not bring about a coup plot?
Well, a coup plot, that's just like I said, whatever you're doing should bring a solution.
Okay.
And if the coup plot, the military regime has never been a solution.
Okay.
All the greatest corruptions were also done by the military. So we know. So those of us who know. And I think that's why history should be taught and taught all over again, so that we can know this. All our industries were destroyed during the military era, from the textile industry to the steel plant in Alaja to everywhere. They destroyed everything. Automobile plants. They destroyed Volkswagen in Lagos, destroyed Peugeot in Kaduna, destroyed everything we had. Now, what we are now saying is that democracy has provided solutions for bad leadership.
Okay.
One is legitimate protest. Two is picketing through the labor laws.
Yeah.
You can picket.
No one
Three
vote
is when you are talking about the legislature. There's a process of recall. Then, three, for the executive, there's a process of impeachment. And then, if you are patient enough, you wait for the other round of election
and vote out.
and to vote out. But Nigerians don't make use of any of these things. Even the little one as little as protest, they don't make use of it. So they complain on WhatsApp groups and Facebook and whatever, and then go to sleep. And we're waiting for Angel Michael from Mars or Jupiter to come and protest for them. So things that affect them personally, they don't even protest about it. So how do we, there was some people that organized protests when the electricity was increased, hijacked to the highest heavens. People didn't come out. So
Well,
Nigerians don't protest.
So much on the coup. Let's go to, you just mentioned electricity now. And then we're having a report about Nigeria Electricity Regulation Council sacking Kaduna Disco over non-remittance of 456 billion naira. That's money that people have paid with the huge bills they give to us. And then it didn't get to destination. Where COVID is on power supply in Nigeria.
I think Narek is just playing to the gallery. They have failed us as citizens.
Okay.
Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission have failed Nigerians. They have not done their work well. So this one's just because maybe it pitches them. The revenue is directly, maybe something that's supposed to reach them, didn't reach them. They started crying
Revenue
foul.
did not come.
Where we're there, where these discos have refused to stop estimated billings. Where we're there, where these people were, some of the meters that were used for these people that were tampered with and made to run like a Formula One race car. You just ping, 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 the thing is gone. Where we're there, where they were doing us this. Where they were billing communities, where they were giving communities estimated billing. Where there was no meter in any community, they don't even read transformer, they just go and collect money from communities. I went to have a haircut day before yesterday somewhere, and the plaza was pitch black. And the young man was telling me that they were bringing 1.9 million to them. They were trying to pay a small plaza.
Yeah.
And then the next thing they said they brought 2 million. I said they were not going to do that, estimated. So it's happening everywhere. And they kept quiet. When you write to Narek, most of the time you don't even get a response. And so these people are allowed to do whatever they want. Now, this one is revenue and it's affecting Narek, and they are coming to cry blue mother. Agencies of government should wake up and do their job. The process that led to this discourse, first of all, was dysfunctional. It was not properly done. People that have the core competence were not there. People that had the technical expertise were not given the discourse. They were just businessmen who were giving this, and they're thinking it was importation of refined oil that they do every 12 weeks and you get money. No, they got stuck. Sometime in 2016, 2017, the CBN gave them a lifeline, some billions of naira for them to stay, whether they can stay afloat. Yet they come back and keep bemoaning. Meanwhile, they make billions of naira. Imagine one disco. Look at what they have made over a time, or not from what the beginning.
That was not remitted.
That was not remitted, though. How much did they now make? That means it's in trillions. And yet they'll come and tell, oh, they are not making profit. The situation is hard, this and that. So Narek is a shame they are not doing their job as a regulator. They are just there to collect.
And then we must find our way out of the wood, especially when you talk about solar and, of course, the solar possibility in Nigeria. Business Day featured the solar boom in Nigeria presently. Is that the way forward? But of course, they pointed out that the problem now is that most of it is imported. Most of the installation gadgets that are used. So how do we proceed from here, especially now that we know that the cost of power is biting hard on everyone?
I think you are trying to be nice. All of them are imported.
Everywhere.
Everything. What are you producing? You are not even producing the nuts to tighten these things. The nut and the bolts are not produced there. the rods. So what is it? The cables? Not
And that's why it's too expensive.
Even in Europe, though, it's expensive. But what you do is that individuals are not allowed to buy solars because it's expensive. So the local governments, for example, are supposed to start investing in this renewable energy, alternative energy. In clusters.
Okay.
So, for example, now before, the electricity law does not allow you to do more than 10 megawatts of electricity.
Yeah.
If you do more than that, you send it to the national grid. But now that has been, changed. It's unbundled. So it's now in concurrent. So you can begin to generate whatever amount of electricity you want. So you can do electricity, for example, to power GR Asaba.
Okay. Solar.
You can do that.
Yeah, we have
you can
something like
do,
that.
you can do
IPP.
wind. You can do gas.
Yeah.
It's not the alternative energies from the national grid are there. So they have got off-grid solutions.
Okay.
Now, off-grid solution, grid is that you are connected to the national grid.
Grid.
So anything you produce must pass through the national grid and move. So states like Enugu that have their own regulatory electric commission are now trying to find out how do you, because the discos have the monopoly of the distribution of electricity. Now they're trying to look around at how do you now begin to work with the discos to ensure that even when power is, because also transmission company and bulk electricity companies are accusing discos of not buying power. Because you're supposed to buy power and transmit. So there are some people are in band A and the rest are supposed to have 24 hours. Some of them don't even buy because of this estimated bill. They're making money from it.
Yeah.
So states governments you also think about gas turbines now produce power.
Okay.
So a state like Delta, for example,
Yeah.
that produces gas. I don't know what business that most of them have with national grid, for example.
Okay.
You can come and start converting your gas to electricity. Build turbines and then place them. The turbines will power your electricity. You can do them in clusters. For example, business districts,
Okay.
government areas like GRA,
Okay.
and some other places. You power those clusters. You can power your universities, your higher institutions with gas turbines and all those things. Because solar, the disadvantage of solar is the space where to place the solar panels, which many people do not have. But a lot of governors came back, I think 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Other governors came together in 19 to see whether they could develop 100 megawatts of electricity through solar. That I don't know whether that is still going on. Investment is still going on. So you need a large space for solar, but there's also wind. Especially for places that develop wind, house wind that can turn it and you can turn it on. But so what we need is that a lot of these places you see that have like China. China is having 1 terabyte of electricity.
Wow.
1 terawatts. Sorry, 1 terawatts of electricity. While Nigeria is still doing 4,000 megawatts. China is doing 1,000 megawatts. That is 10,000 megawatts. 10,000 megawatts. No, not 10,000. How do you calculate it again? So you do, when you move from watts, you do to megawatts, you make it terawatt. So 1 terawatt is what they are producing. Not mega.
It's about 1,000 to 1,000 megawatts makes
So what we are now saying is this. If a country like China can produce 1 terawatt of electricity, and small countries like South Africa has up to 80,000 megawatts of electricity, and smaller countries are having that number, 120 megawatts. I think Brazil has more than up to 200,000 megawatts of electricity. And Nigeria, with the same population, basically with Brazil, is having 4 megawatts in their national grid. And then when they have 7 megawatts, they write it as newspaper headline.
Yeah.
We are shameless as a country.
We
are very, very shameless. Our mates are doing something else. Look at what is happening in Brazil with Petrobras, in Saudi Arabia with Saudi Aramco and the rest. So we are
decentralized.
It has been decentralized.
I think
even much more.
It has been decentralized. It's just that many states are lazy.
Okay.
Dr. Igboke, what I find is corruption is at the center of everything, because I remember sometime when Obasanjo was president, there was something that the House of Rep was probing this issue of discos and all that, headed by our own majority leader at that time, Ndudi Elumelu. They came out with so many gory stories of corruption and all that. By the time they submitted a report, I never heard anything about it. I don't know whether...
Because they're trapped in the day. They trapped the young man there. He got caught up in the web of politics and the rest.
I heard that some money moved into his account and then moved out again, and then
they trapped him there, and he didn't know what to say. But that's to tell the cabal that was in that sector. But again, corruption is not even the main problem now.
Okay.
I think the major problem that most of the states are lazy. Because it has been decentralized. That time we are talking about it was still in the hands of the federal government only.
That was
Now
our,
it
that
has
was
been
our
decentralized.
complaint.
It's a concurrent list now. But many
Okay.
states are not even making the effort. They don't want to invest. So, for example, the Delta State had its economic summit.
Yeah.
There cannot be any economic development without power.
That's right. It was
So the
sta- it
first
was
thing you do,
stated.
why does Ogun State host up to 35% of all the factories in Nigeria?
Power.
So power and land. Now, how did Lagos and Ogun has industrial power? It's gas. So what did they do? When Obasanjo was president, he tapped gas from Egbe in Ikorodu, ran it all through Ikorodu Road is gas pipeline under them.
Yeah.
I was there when they were constructing it. We had got to Ojota Mowe axis, took one line there that ended in Shagamu. They came another way, going straight, went to Mushin, went to Igomu, went to all the way to Agbara, circled the whole place up to Mowe Bafo, Shagamu, Papalanto. Next, they moved to Papa. So a lot of these things are powered by gas.
All right.
Or the whole of Ilubeji Industrial Estate is gas. Now, Delta State can do that.
Yeah.
As when I was in secondary school in Warri, was when Babangida came to launch the Oturugo gas plant. Utorugo gas plant. How many years ago? We are talking about almost more than 30 years ago.
That's right.
What is happening to that gas plant? Why can't Delta State take gas from Utorugo and then make it work and distribute it for in the industrial parks, industrial estates? There was one industrial estate that is abandoned just here, Abusa side. Draw those gas pipeline and power industries and see the whole place light up with industries. Draw one to Warri, draw to Haley, draw to Agba, draw to Washuku, draw to everywhere. Draw to Asaba here. And before you know it, the whole state becomes a mega production site. And people will come.
Yeah.
People will come. Because once there's power, that means you have lessened the cost of production.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. We'll move so much on those two items. Let's go to Osun elections. That's what is in vogue now. That's where the light is
The
beaming.
action.
But then the sad news is that we have had 73 violent incidents and 29 fatalities ahead of the already NLC and the women in that state. They're already calling for a peaceful election after we have lost 29 persons. Can you speak to that situation?
Just as I keep on saying that countries at war don't even have the kind of fatalities we have. Life is cheap in Nigeria. And that is why when I wake up every morning, I see myself waking up and see myself ending the day. I say, thank God. Because it's not by any design of security. It's just by the grace of the Almighty that you live in this country. So you wake up in the morning, you just go, and then a stray bullet hits you from nowhere. Now, it may happen in other countries, but it's isolated. But yeah, just a simple election in one state. Look at that is the one that is reported. We know. Now, why is there most tension in Osun? Because the ruling party wants to take it.
Exactly.
Because an opposition state. If it was not an opposition state, there would be much tension like that. Now, must it be by all means? An opposition that has done its job well does not need to be afraid. An opposition party in Osun State that at the federal level is a ruling party does not need to be afraid. So it could have been something conscious over the years, trying to say, okay, the APC candidate should be able to come and say, the federal government has done this for you, Osho people. It has done this for you people. It has done this for you. It has made life better here. It has made interventions that they can see. And then they will know they don't need much persuasion for you to do it. But because you have refused to do what you're supposed to do over time, it's now election time, you're trying to use all arm twisting tactics. At the other time, last week, the president had to come out to say that he's totally embarrassed. That the EFCC did not have a right to do what they did, or even if they had a right to do what they did, that the timing was wrong. And then they should. So the question again, people are asking that, if the EFCC then they got a valid court order, is the president overriding the court order? So these are the questions. But again, sometimes agencies of government like EFCC play the role as if they are political parties. They don't play the umpire role and all those things. Thank God that the IG has located the commissioner of police that made some incendiary statements the other time. He has been relocated. But the violence thing is because the politicians, the utterances of the politicians who are participants are hitting up the polity. So they see these things as a do or die affair. And the President Obasanjo said it one time that the election is do or die. So these are kind of mindsets that they bring into this thing, hit up the polity, it's unfortunate. But I also tell Nigerians, why do you make yourself available
For such violence.
for such violence? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Where are the children of these politicians?
It's illiteracy.
Some of them are somewhere in overseas, having scholarships or having
right.
these things in different
Riding
countries.
bikes.
Riding Bugatti and all those kind of things, expensive cars. Some of them in Abuja doing hospital, in fact, doing race cars, and that's why Wike has to say that he is banning car racing, because they just come out and then you are carrying placard for somebody else to say go and kill, go and kill, go and die, you go and die. Fela Koli says zombie on a one way, go and kill, go and die, and also so if you want to be zombie. After Fela sang that song almost 50 years ago, you still want to be that zombie. Well, fine and good. You meet your maker sooner than you expected.
Talking about Saturday, because we know that this election is imminent. What do we expect to see, seeing that the situation in Osun is not where there's no let to what's going on there? Do you anticipate voter apathy, or what can be done now to get the situation under control?
Well, there are already news reports that a lot of people are already afraid. They say they won't come out to vote.
Of course.
Because of fear of being hit by a stray bullet again or somewhere.
Or injured.
Or maimed or kidnapped, So they're already keeping indoors. Some of them have said they won't come out. And that's, kind of truncates the democratic process. Because the legitimacy of democracy, of democratically elected people, is the ballot.
That's right.
So if the ballot is not there, then you lack legitimacy. So that's why when talking about coup earlier, the coup is the bullet. Democracy is the ballot. So when there's a contestation between the bullet and the ballot, the people should choose the ballot because it's still better than the bullet. Maybe a lot of young people now, maybe they are not old enough to have experienced
what was
the military, for example. Decree 2, Decree 4,
Decree 21.
Decree 21, all kinds of decrees. Somebody will just wake up and sing the national anthem and say, fellow Nigeria, this is now law. Look, we're trying to do state police. We have been going bills, this. Military will just come and announce it. All the states created will announce it. That is why it's difficult to create a state in democracy. Because there must be consensus and there must be law. But the military will just wake up and if all the states created since 1966, 67, the first sets of states were created in 1967. Until the last states were created in 1996. All had the military. No one was created in democratic governance. That's to show you how difficult it is. Because it involves consultations and all that. Well, military does not consult anybody. So you just come, hit it. So, and some of the things, relics of military district, we still see them. For example, environmental sanitation on Saturday.
Yes.
Last Saturday of the month. They will say you shouldn't move around. It's a military dictatorship directive from Buhari and Idiagbo. And I'm always ashamed when I see states all over the country practicing the people should lock themselves from 7 to 10 last Saturdays of the month. I said, do these guys, these governors elected, do they really know the origin of this thing? And so sometimes we also behave like the civilians elected, behave like military people. Even the issue of convoy. Pushing civilians out of the road because somebody wants to pass. It's also
a military mentality.
It's a military mentality. Carrying whip and doing wow, blowing siren everywhere. You run away and how you pursue the people you have. So these are we need to expunge ourselves of this military spirits in us. It's not more mentality; it is in our soul now. It's not more. It's not more in an intellectual thing.
So what do we need to do in Osun now?
Osun, you need to pray. Because for now, everything has defied logic.
Okay.
Everything has defied logic. So for the first time in a very long time, I'm very spiritual. Because there's something.
No, I don't think it's the first time in a long time. You're spiritual. When you came in here just now, you talked about how that God is the one sustaining us.
Is God not too busy now for Nigerians?
Yes.
A child, for example, your father gives you everything.
Yes.
Yet you cannot do anything with it. God has other children that don't even have anything. That live in the desert. That don't have natural resources.
And they are doing well for themselves. They don't have any other thing. They have to start converting desert to agriculture. Here, in the middle of a crack expressway that is tarred,
a green grass comes up. That means even the ground is fertile.
That's right.
And we are not doing anything with it. All our human resources are natural. We are not doing anything with them.
All right. Thank you. It's always exciting being with you in the studio. But we have one issue that we must look at. Yesterday, we looked at the issue of a report that the EU has withdrawn from a monitoring election in Nigeria, and then we gave our view on it. But there's a reverse to it. A spokesperson for the EU has said there's nothing like that. It's a misreport. That actually INEC wrote them and they are coming. They replied that they are coming to monitor the elections. And we said, they have interest. So this twist and this, just speak to it.
Whether
for 2 minutes.
EU comes or AU comes or whoever comes, the election will be the Nigerian election.
Okay.
Right. So it's a Nigerian election. We'll do the election the way we do it.
Okay.
There will be that day the beavers will not work for some places. That day they will not transmit results. That day they will see faces of people that are not supposed to be there. Even faces of cats will be in the bathroom. So we will see those things, and then those days we will see that the beavers didn't work in almost all the places.
Yes.
So it's our Nigeria. And what do they do? They will go back and wrote that, and the place that go, they don't even go anywhere. They just go within the city center.
Yes, that's right.
And so they are not really the election monitoring.
They don't have impact.
It's nothing. So whether they are coming, they are not coming.
Yes.
Nigeria will run election the way we run our election. Always a defective way of running things.
Hopefully things will be better this time around.
No, eventually, like what he's saying, after all this, result to be announced.
Yes, result will
And
be
then
announced.
after a
Then you
while,
go to
we
court.
accept our president.
Then you go to court.
Those who agree, let them go to court. Now, finally, the state of federal roads. Gridlock, farmers, motorists, everybody's complaining. Federal roads in the states are not cared for. And now you talked about, when we're talking about Ocean, you talked about if the federal government had done, ABC things in the state, then the opposition will be able to campaign with it and say, see what we have done for you from the federal level, as against what the state has done for you, to vote our person for more. Now, the roads, especially this area, this old Bendel area, the roads are impassable.
Well, I in May, I went to Agenebode.
Okay.
For a burial of one of my friend, SK Lubehai. And when I was coming back, I went through Benin.
Yes.
So went through. But when I was coming back, I came straight to Asaba,
Yes.
to Anisha from there. And I wept.
Sure.
I wept. I said, there's no part of the road that is good. From Auchi to here, they're all just... Somalia that is in war, it's like a place where bombs erupted the earth,
You wonder
I
said, is this there's a place trailers need to park on one side, you need to wait there for 3 hours in one place.
True.
I said, this is not Nigeria. I was ashamed. This is not the backwaters of Nigeria. We are talking about Edo Delta.
The nerve center,
I was
economy
shocked.
is.
And then again, in September last year, I went by road from Abuja to Warri to see my uncle, and I was also appalled by the nothingness of the road. Benin to Warri, that should not take you more than 1 hour plus.
Yeah,
it took us 3 hours plus. The roads. I remember as a child growing up in Warri. They started building that Benin-Warri Expressway around 87, 88. And they said it would take 10 years to complete. As a child, I was complaining 10 years is too much. I didn't know that in my lifetime, almost clocking 50, that road will still be like that.
Yeah.
And that's to show you the negligence at that level. So the federal government collects all the allocation, collects the highest percent as a single entity, and shares to 37 entities.
37, and then the LGs.
37 entities.
Yeah.
And then still trickle down to 774 entities.
Yeah.
But they take the largest share as a single entity. Now, what are they doing with it?
Question.
We don't know. So I think it's a time for states to push. A lot of things have been democratized and brought to the concurrent list. I think some of these roads should also be brought to the concurrent list. Some of these roads, are so bad that you start wondering how the vehicles ply them.
And just to
some are sunk in this. You get some boys that will start pushing.
Yeah.
And I say, if I was from this place, some of them park their vehicles. We know a lot of places people park their vehicles and use bike to enter
Okay.
their villages and
Then do whatever they're doing,
and
then come out.
back and pick their car. In Nigeria,
Yeah.
Dr. Ambrose, do you also think that this can even it is escalating this kidnapping situation, this insecurity,
course
the
now.
state of our roads?
of course.
And if we're able to fix our roads, what's
Of course, because
It will reduce.
the numbers will always target where you have slowed down.
Yeah.
okay.
Because when you're almost not moving, and then just come out and you can't even run.
To where now?
Because for this kind of craters, these are not more potholes, they are
Yeah.
craters.
True.
You make an attempt to run, your car will somersault.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm thinking this final solution will be federal government is holding on to still
So
too
much-
many things
so much
in the
money.
exclusive list. Which one is federal road? The federal government should reduce its own percentage
Okay.
of the revenue,
Resources.
and then reduce it, maybe take like 30%
Okay.
and share the 70% to states and local government. And now give the responsibilities
To the states.
of these roads to the states. So that you do the one, you can do contiguous entities. For example, South can come and say, South states, okay, want to do a road, let's fix this road. Southeast can do this. Those are the things we are talking about.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ambrose.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for the insight. Of course, viewer, I believe you benefited from the discourse. We'll come back after this break, with another, topic for you for discussion. Bye for now. Wake up with us. Up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives. Time to talk sports. And already Anthony Uche is in the studio. Anthony, you're welcome. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing? Good morning.
Very good.
Morning,
We are doing our
morning.
thing.
It's
You're
good
welcome.
it is good to hear that. I mean, you're on good form this morning.
Okay.
Hopefully that
That
carries
means
on.
we are
Yes,
sporty.
Yes, of course. Hopefully that carries
Thank
on.
you for that compliment.
No problem.
So what do you have for us?
Just a few stories. First of them is an update on, of course, somebody who you can refer to as an African legend of football, and you will not be wrong because Mohamed Salah, I told you about his move to Trabzonspor over there in Turkey after leaving Liverpool after over 9 years at the club. And, yesterday, the club, Trabzonspor, is a rather unique club. I don't want to call them unusual, but I just want to call them unique because that's what it is, because it's in a positive light. So they do a lot of the things they do at that club with a family vibe to it, a community vibe to it. Even the announcement video of Mohamed Salah was that of, the video was that of a woman and the family, basically Salah as one of the son. And, if you watch the video, you understand the woman was like, my son is coming and all of that. And the son turns out to be Mohamed Salah when he knocks on the door. And then there's a very big table of dinner and everybody. So you understand that family vibe that there is to, the Turkish club. And the news even broke yesterday as well, further, enforcing that reputation of a family vibe, where it was revealed that Mohamed Salah and many of the club players at the club actually live in apartments built by the club over the city, across the city for their players. And it was also further revealed that the house that Mohamed Salah has packed into now was recently occupied by Anthony Nwakeme, the former Nigerian striker that played for the club and retired at 37 at the end of last season after winning the Turkish Cup. And so it was just further enhances that, the president, Dogan, announced that it's not an issue. This has always been a practice at the club. Players come in, and if they do not choose to, reside elsewhere in the city, they can always pick a room or a house at the club apartments that was built. Yes, that was built for the players.
So welcoming.
Yes, so welcoming. That's such a, and then you tend to understand why. Like I said it here when I announced his arrival, this club is not one of the top 3 clubs in Turkish football. You have Besiktas, you have Galatasaray, and you have Fenerbahce. But somehow they're still pulling their weight. Like I said, they won the Turkish Cup last season, and to get to that level of achievement, you have to at least cross path with 2 of those 3 big teams, and they did that. Yes, and they did that, and and won the trophy. So it's just like I said, very, very unique and very, very encouraging things to see that there are still people. I mean, we hear stories like this, but it's usually from the northern part of the world. When I mean northern, I mean the Nordics and Scandinavia. All of those people, they are still very accommodating.
Norway,
yes, you casually see players strolling the streets, really going for shopping, grocery shopping, and all of that. But the closer you come to mainstream Europe, the more celebrity that they become, and then they have to move with bodyguards and security. But that doesn't seem to be the case when it comes to the city of Trabzon. And then we're still talking about players who move over to a certain Mr. Marcus Rashford, or Sir Marcus Rashford, because he was knighted an MBE a few years ago now. But the story about with Marcus Rashford, a lot of United fans will know that already, is a rather puzzling one, because you remember this man, he played last season at Barcelona in Spain, and they had a £25 million clause. That was a 30 million euros clause to make his loan move at the time permanent. Barcelona not only declined to sign him for 30 million euros, they went ahead to sign Anthony Gordon for 70 million euros. So they had 25 million euros, they had 30 million euros and more, which they used to sign another player. From Newcastle United. And that basically put an end to his hopes of returning to the club on a permanent basis. And since then, he's been very uncertain, his future at United. And he made it public at the time that he wanted to leave the club under the former coach, Ruben Amorim. He didn't want to play for the club anymore. He was turning up late for training. He was getting punished for that. And a lot of those things, snowballed into the fact that he left and joined Barcelona. Even before then, he had gone on loan to Aston Villa, did really well, went to Barcelona last season. Not necessarily, he did well when you judge by the standard he set at United in the previous 2 seasons, because he provided 14 goals and 14 assists, which is a good return for any player. But for some reason, for reasons known best to Barcelona's coach Hansi Flick and the club directors, they chose not to make his loan deal permanent. And like I said, he turned up in Ireland, as you can see on that picture, for United's final preseason tour in Dublin. And his jersey number before he left was number 10. And since he left, Man United signed a certain Matheus Cunha, who was given that number 10 jersey. And one of the biggest indicators as to whether or not a player will stay at the club is the jersey number. A lot of football fans attach a lot of value to numbers that players wear on the back. And it was revealed a few days ago that he will now be putting on the jersey number 14, because he will not get his number 10 jersey back, which also further, indicates that he might be here on his way out the door, but nothing really concrete has gone on now. No club is seriously knocking on the door for his signature. I will just have to wait to see what, goes on with the future of Marcus Rashford at United.
Yeah, because I heard him say somewhere, that's talking about Rashford.
Yes.
That he's going to be in Man U and earn his wages.
He's the highest earner
so
in the club.
even if you don't play me, I'll be in Man U.
And that's the type of things that gets fans really up in arms against any player.
Exactly.
When you are at a club solely for the purpose of earning salaries.
No. He was saying that no matter how you despise me, I'm a Man U player. I don't think he was denigrating the club.
Not necessarily. You don't have to denigrate the club, but the moment you indicate, that you indicate that you are at a club to solely earn a lot of money and then leave eventually. The same thing happened with Mesut Ozil at Arsenal. He was at some point Arsenal's highest earner, and Mikel Arteta clearly did not want him in the team. He refused to go. You have to find a way to terminate that deal. Same thing with Raheem Sterling at Chelsea. Most recently, you know, he wasn't really playing and he was one of Chelsea's highest earners. At some point, they had to agree to terminate his deal, and that usually comes with a lot of financial burden for the club because you have to pay this person off, or unless they agree to a mutual termination of the contract, which doesn't look like it's going to be the case with Rashford because he wants to earn every single penny of that money. So, well, we'll have to see. We have to wait and see. One thing on the bright side for him and for a lot of United fans who want him to stay, trust me, there are still some United fans who want him to stay. They like him because he's an academy graduate. He's one of their own. He's a boy. Basically, he grew. Yes, he basically grew in their eyes. So a lot of them still want him to stay. But one of the biggest indicators, Michael Carrick, the coach, he played with Marcus Rashford towards the end of his own career as well at the club under a certain Jose Mourinho. So there is that relationship as the former teammates. And the time Marcus Rashford was there on an interim basis for 4 games before Erik ten Hag took over, Rashford did really well under him. So perhaps that is what a lot of United fans are clinging on to perhaps mean that Rashford will stay for an extended period of time. But we'll wait and see how he goes with Rashford. And then to wind up, somebody's taking some people to court, and that is Evangelos Marinakis, the owner of Nottingham Forest in England. The story about this is basically what a lot of football fans will term banter. So there's this banter, and then, you know, the story basically was that a certain player, Morgan Gibbs-White, who you will see very soon, standing, that man right there,
White.
He was this close to joining Tottenham last summer, and nobody knew he had a release clause. And one thing with release clauses in football, once a club meets the release clause of a player, then it is not in the hands of the selling club anymore. It is now between the player and the club that has met that release clause. So Tottenham managed to meet the release clause of about £70 million for the man on your screen there, Morgan Gibbs-White, who is by far, by a very, very long way, the best player Nottingham Forest has in their books. And usually what happens is when you trigger that clause, the player gets into a negotiation with the buying club, and it's, like I said, it is out of the hands of the selling club. But somehow, magically, after we heard a few days that Tottenham had met the clause and he was in negotiations to join Tottenham, he released this picture and a video that accompanied it of him signing a new contract at Nottingham Forest, which no longer has any release clause attached to it. So you now have to go and negotiate with the club for any amount that they tell you. And a lot of fans, this picture in particular, a lot of fans used AI to generate the back of this picture with Marinakis with a gun on his hand, pointing it to this guy to make sure. And if you know a lot about the man, he's a very erratic man. He's a very passionate man. He once stepped onto the field to confront his own coach when Taiwo Awoniyi, Nigerian, got injured really badly in a game.
I saw that.
Yes, and after that, he just went downhill. And mind you, the coach he confronted on the pitch, had taken this club to their highest ever finish in the Premier League, qualifying them for a European place. So it doesn't matter how much you achieve for him. And we are talking about a man who, a certain Vitor Pereira, saved them from relegation last season. And a few days after the season had ended, he sacked him basically by terminating his contract and appointing a former Crystal Palace manager. So if you hear all of these things I'm saying today, you know there's some sort of animosity or bad blood between Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. Yes. And mind you, Crystal Palace had qualified for Europa League last season after winning the FA Cup, but they were forced to play in the Conference League because this man and his club reported them for being, there's one thing they call multi-club ownership pattern in Europe, and you are not allowed to own multiple clubs. You can own multiple clubs in different countries, but when the two of them qualify for maybe a Champions League or Europa League, one of them has to step down. So that you can't have two clubs owned by the same people in one tournament.
The same tournament.
Yes, so that was what happened. Marinakis and Nottingham Forest took that case up and ensured that eventually Crystal Palace were stepped down because there's a certain club called Lyon, which at the time was also owned by John Textor, or was partly owned by John Textor, who also partly owned Crystal Palace at the time they had qualified. So he made sure that Crystal Palace were reduced to the Conference League, which has lesser appeal, has lesser financial rewards.
Commitment,
And his own Nottingham Forest team was promoted to play in the Europa League. So you just see all of these images and all of that. And there comes the image of the banner, the thing that actually he has taken them to court for. The banner in question was unfurled. Yes, that is the banner, and you see the inscription of him, and then they painted it with a gun more visibly now, pointing at the player. So he has taken the club Crystal Palace to court. You see the inscription on the thing. Mr. Marinakis is not involved in blackmail, match fixing, drug trafficking, and corruption. They're basically just saying it the other way around, that he is involved in those, and those claims those claims has forced Mr. Marinakis to take the club to court, and we'll see what happens from the court case. But sometimes a lot of us football fans, we don't really read meaning into these things. We call them banter, and it's just for light jokes.
Right.
But it looks like Mr. Marinakis has taken it.
They make the game exciting.
Yes.
They are the other aspects of entertainment in the game.
Yeah, and like I said,
they can settle the dispute.
we'll see what happens. It would. I don't think it will ever. I don't think it will go beyond financial penalties, and that usually doesn't mean a lot for football clubs, especially over there in England. They'd rather you give them financial penalties than sporting punishments. So. We'll see. Like I said, we'll see what comes of this.
Yes, Tony. Thank you for always scraping out these aspects of sports.
There's always something to talk about. There's always something. To
Thank
talk
you.
About.
We'll see you again when you come.
Thank you very
Viewer,
much.
stay with us. When we come, it shall be another conversation. Stay with us. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Yes, welcome back. And of course, it's time to speak some French. Where are you? In the kitchen, anywhere? Are you still there? Because Fra is already in the studio. That's how she likes to be called. But I know that her name is Miss Francisca Anthony.
Hello.
All right, bonjour.
Another Anthony.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci.
Ok.
Et vous?
Mais je me porte bien, pas de problème.
Comment ça
On se
va?
débrouille.
Ça va bien, merci.
Comment ça va aussi?
Ça va bien, merci.
Bravo, bravo. C'est ça. That means we are really grabbing them one after the other. Bon, aujourd'hui, c'est le le mardi, oui, today is Tuesday, le 11 août 2026. I just said today's date, that is 11 August 20,
Tuesday.
yeah,
Tuesday.
Tuesday 11th August 2026. Le 11, mardi, le 11 2026. Oui, et bonjour à tous, bonjour mes chers amis, bonjour mes chers camarades, bonjour mes téléspectateurs. Et comme d'habitude, je m'appelle Mademoiselle Françoise. Et comme j'aime Frafra, yes, like always, welcome to French for the Beginners. Bienvenue sur notre programme Français pour le débutant. Comme d'habitude, nous avons beaucoup de choses à faire. Like, if you're just joining us, if you're new in this system, don't worry. You're not missing anything. Yes, the last time we did a beautiful topic, and which is the days of the week and months of the year. Yes. Then let's do a little recap of what we did last time, okay? If you're just joining us, don't worry. As I said, you didn't miss anything. We're just trying to take you back to what we did last time. Le mois, le jour et le mois, the days and the months of the year. And we said, what are the days in French? We said lundi is Monday, mardi, Tuesday, mercredi, Wednesday, jeudi, Thursday, vendredi, Friday, samedi, Saturday, and
Dimanche.
bravo, dimanche is Sunday. And I said the months of the year. Then one we have janvier, which is what? January, February, Mars, March, Avril, April, May, Juin, Juillet, July, août. Like we are in the month of August. This is août, le mois de août.
Okay.
August, September, October, November, and the last one is what? December. Bravo! Vraiment, je suis très contente. I'm very happy and glad. Then today, aujourd'hui, nous avons un joli sujet intitulé les couleurs. We have a beautiful topic, which is les couleurs. Oh, colors. Yes, les couleurs. Yes, these colors is all about, French is all about colors. La vie est belle avec les couleurs. The life is so beautiful with the colors. Yes, let's look around you. There's so many colors. Even your clothes you're wearing, we have all of them. Today, aujourd'hui, on va discuter les couleurs une par une. We're going to discuss the colors one by one. Et les couleurs partie 1. Part 1 of the colors that we have is the basic colors, okay? Yes. Normally, we want to train, there are so many colors. There are so many, but aujourd'hui, on va traiter les couleurs, les bases, the basic colors, okay? And before anything, normally our French flag, we French, we love colors. Then our flag alone is so colorful. The French flag is all about what? Bleu, blanc, rouge. Bleu, blanc, rouge. Look at the string. You see what is happening? We have the French colors there, blue, white, and red. And what is blue is bleu. Bleu. What is white is blanc. And what is red is rouge. Rouge. That's the French colors. Okay, yes. Applaudis pour le français, le drapeau de français. Vraiment, merci. Et aujourd'hui, les couleurs, the colors that we have, back to our table, nous avons le rouge. Le rouge. S'il vous plaît, répétez après moi. S'il vous plaît, please repeat after me. Le rouge. Le rouge. Le rouge. Le bleu. Le bleu. Le bleu. Le jaune. Le jaune. Le jaune. Le vert. Le vert. Le vert. The T is silent. Le vert. Le noir. Le noir. O-I is sound. Le noir. Then we have le blanc. Le blanc. Le blanc. Le blanc. we have le gris. Le gris. Le blanc is white. Le gris is ash. Then le gris is gray. Yes, quand c'est ash.
Gray.
Yes. Le gris, gray. Nous avons le rouge, le bleu, le jaune, le vert, le noir, le blanc, le gris. C'est ça. And this S in Greece is being pronounced gris. You can't say gris. No, it's gris. Le gris. And la deuxième partie de part 2 of our French, nous avons le rose. Le rose. Le rose. Le rose is pink. Yes, pink. Et nous avons le violet. Le violet. Le violet. The T is silent. Le violet. Et orange. L'orange. L'orange is orange. Like orange. Yes,
Okay.
orange that we know. Orange. Orange. Et nous avons le marron. Le marron. Le marron is brown. Yes, brown. Now we have so many of them, as I said. So let us repeat it one after the other again. Le rouge. Le rouge, le bleu, le jaune, le vert, le noir, le blanc, le gris, le rose, le violet, l'orange, le marron. Now, bravo! I love that. So now let me ask, quelle couleur préférez-vous? What color do you prefer? What's the best color? Le vin, le vert, green, et le marron, brown. Monsieur, le vert. Wow! Moi, c'est toutes les couleurs qui brillent.
Ah.
Oui, j'aime le couleur qui brille. Mais j'aime le jaune.
Mais
Le jaune,
toutes les couleurs brillent, non?
Oui, je sais, mais
All the colors shine.
yes.
You say you like the colors that shine.
And they said, I
All
love
the bright
yellow.
colors.
My green shines too.
Okay, okay.
She likes all the bright
If I may
colors.
ask, what is the color red in French?
Le rouge.
Rouge. Félicitations, merci. And what is the color of black?
Le noir.
Le noir. Bravo. Okay, let me see. We're all wearing different colors, right? Yes.
Wearing black.
Madame,
wearing yellow.
vous portez le
Rouge.
rouge, vraiment très
Et le-
bien.
et le
Vous
violet.
portez,
Violet là.
ok, vous portez le rouge et le violet.
violet, oui.
Voilà, the red and purple she's wearing. Et vous portez le
noir.
Le noir. Bravo. Monsieur, vous portez
Aujourd'hui, c'est pour le noir.
aujourd'hui pour le
Toi aussi, le noir.
Moi aussi pour le noir. C'est ça. Tu vois, tout le color a son nom. All the colors have its own name. And remember that our French colors is one of the beautiful colors. Not that English color is not, but how it sounds. Now look at the screen now. See what is happening there. Jaune. See how jaune. See how beautiful it is. Le jaune. Jaune. Yellow. Rose. Rose. Pink. Blanc. The blanc
Okay,
is really
the
blanc.
blanc.
Yes. Blanc. White.
Eyes white.
Blue.
Blue.
Blue. Maroon. Maroon.
Brown.
Brown. Orange. Orange.
Okay.
Orange. Obviously. Rouge. Red. Vert.
Okay.
Green.
Red.
And
Yeah.
noir.
Noir.
Red. Now ask yourself, answer me from anywhere you're watching me. Close your eyes. What is the color of red in French?
Le rouge.
Le rouge. Très bien. And what is white?
Le
blanc.
Très bien. And what is blue?
Le bleu.
Le bleu.
Bravo! Félicitations! I love that! Bon, on va arrêter ici aujourd'hui et on va continuer le jeudi qui vient. We are going to stop here today. We're going to continue Thursday that is coming. Yes. Merci, mes chers téléspectateurs. Merci. Je suis toujours votre présentatrice, Mademoiselle Frafra. Thank you, my dear viewers, my dear viewers. I am always your presenter, Miss Frafra. Merci. Monsieur.
All right. So you now know the colors, eh? Okay.
Bravo.
Le rouge.
Le rouge, le noir,
Le noir.
Le
le
jaune.
blanc,
Le jaune. Le
Yes.
jaune.
le vert,
jaune.
Le vert. And the
le
red.
violet.
Le violet.
Okay.
There's so many,
Orange.
orange. You know, there's so many colors, but I don't
Yeah,
want to
these are
go
the
there.
basic ones.
Yeah, these are basic ones.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
you know,
should
you know.
know.
Sometimes you hear them say pepper red for head tie,
Mm-hmm.
Biro blue.
Shades.
Shades.
And
All right, I'm sure you spoke some French this morning or you learned. Please, whatever you learn, practice it so that you become perfect. I told you why French is very necessary for Nigeria. We are surrounded by French-speaking countries, and Nigerians like trading, traveling. You know, so when you go, you should be able to ask how much, where am I going, what are we doing, you know.
And please, if you want to learn French, traveling French, children French, business French, don't forget to call on us, call on me, okay? Yes, with them.
You will go to the accounts department, our market department, and know how much you are going to pay for that advert for yourself. All right, that was Fafra trying to take advantage of the situation, but it's okay. When we come back, we go to other conversation. Thank you for staying with us, and thank you, Fafra, for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you on Thursday.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Of Asaba, where the street tells the stories every single day.
From the corridors of powers to the decisions shaping governance and politics in Delta and Nigeria.
From traders counting every naira to families battling rising costs and uncertain times.
From football pitches to sporting successes to the major developments making the headlines all over the world.
And from the untold human stories, the struggles, victories, resilience, and hope of the everyday Nigerians.
This is the news beyond the headlines. Dott TV News are your trusted window to stories that truly matter to the people. Here, we don't just report events, we tell the human stories behind them.
We impose extra burden on the masses. I feel your pain.
Only humility will lead us to unity, and unity will lead us to peace.
Go to the market and sell your products.
Dott
Dott Entertainment, your weekly dose of pure fun, airing every Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Saturdays, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. only on Dott TV.
Welcome to Roots and Rhythms, showing on Dott TV every Friday.
Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.
Yes, welcome back and thank you for being there this morning. We're excited having you go along with us on this hour tragedy. Now let's come this way. The state of our cities. You know, most of these places in other climes, you find that as you are flying over a city like Paris, like Frankfurt, you see how they use electric bulb to design the name of the city. You know where you are landing.
Yeah.
You know, even in Africa, Johannesburg and all those places, when you are flying across a city at night, you just like what you see. But most of the times when we fly over our cities in Nigeria, we see rusty roofs and all that, sprawling streets and looking very unplanned. And we have universities that turn out graduates of regional and urban planning, town planning, whatever name you call it, they are one and the same thing. So we won't let off until we see our cities beautiful like other climes. And that's why we're bringing to our studio, albeit through Zoom, Professor Magnus Ojeifo, Professor of Geography and Urban Planning of Ambrose Ali University, Ekpoma, Edo State. Prof, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Prof.
Good to see you.
Yeah, how's everybody doing?
We are doing good. How is Ekpoma?
Ekpoma is beautiful.
All right. As the federal government constructed the road from Abuja crossing your Ekpoma, you have good roads now.
Yes. The
road
road is, they are working on it though.
They are working on it. Okay.
It's getting better now, yeah.
That's a good public relations for them. All right. We are here to discuss town planning concerning our cities. Let's start this way. Sometimes when we have some guys come over where buildings have been erected, they say this building is not according to plan, or this building is defacing the master plan of this area. Let's ask this question. For our cities, and from your knowledge, do we have a master plan for every city in Nigeria?
Okay. Now, this is what it is. I can categorically tell you that 98% of towns and cities in Nigeria do not have master plans. You know, they grew up traditionally. And unfortunately, even after institutions that have been, built, like university and polytechnics, which ordinarily have been teaching on this over the years, we have seen that there is no change. So the way it was in the 50s, in the 40s, That is how it is even till this moment. But the only thing you see, why I call it 98%, because we have seen instances where partial form of master plan have been developed for sections of cities. For example, you have the GROAs. But unfortunately, if you go to most GROAs today, they are already changing faces. Yes, those places may have master plans or do have master plans, but because of certain factors that have arisen over time, we have seen that changes which are not in accordance with the plans that were prepared for such areas are now being altered and so on. So that's what it is.
Thank you so much, Prof. Now, let's look at what you do as a professor at the institution. At that level, I don't know if you're maybe worried about the fact that land conservation in Nigeria, as it were, has not been paid much attention, especially now that we know that in terms of land mass, we have declining land mass across the country, and places like Lagos, Anambra, and some other states, you find that the land mass, and even in some of these places where we have erosion and all of that. Talk to us about what town planners can do in terms of ensuring that we're not using up land. And of course, we know it's not sustainable to keep using land the way we are doing presently. Talk to us about your thoughts.
Okay. First of all, we have in the NUC curriculum, the courses, the town planning or urban regional planning courses. Like I said earlier, from 100 level to final year, you have them. But the way it is today, what we do is just to teach. We teach to create awareness, in the lives of among the students or in the life of the students, so that they will know the kind of environment we are supposed to have, and also to let them know why we are not having it. Now, if you come to the university, for example, where I belong, we have theses that have been written on these. Unfortunately, I don't want to say synergy now. Unfortunately, government has not made it a point of duty, to consult with these institutions so that they can see how they can better manage our environment. Now, most towns, 98%, like I mentioned before, towns and cities in Nigeria are not planned. And if you look at the urban regional planning law, the creator of 1992, it was set up purposely to see how we can reshape our urban environment for livability. And livability and what you call it, livability generally. But we have seen that is not what it is today. It is not because we're not teaching in university, but it's because of the fact that government attention is up to this moment not drawn to what it ought to be. Now, when you go to most towns, when you go to look, every local government in Nigeria has area planning office. It is there. Now, the reason for setting up these area planning offices is to see how they can help manage the urban environment. But we can see also, like I believe you also know, people still erect buildings and structures the way they want it. The reason is because, like I mentioned, we are building on traditional setup where ownership of land, although is vested in the governor of each state, but we still see that communities have controls, individuals have controls. And what they do is to want to put down what they want to put without control. Now, I'm sure you have seen also that it has become a normal thing for people to have their houses close to a sawmill. Let me use that little one for illustration. Now, it ought not to be so. Or sometimes you see a school and a market competing in a very small piece of land allocated, not allocated. So people make their choices of what they want to build without government control. And also you discover that the area planning offices, as we have in each local government area, although have this duty that they do not perform. For example, you discover that when buildings are erected in places where they'll become not convenient for use or for people generally, what they do is just go there, they put a mark, inscribe something on it, and they go back. And after a time, you see that they will go back and give an order that such a building can continue. It can continue. Yes. Now we also see where people have built on natural rain, natural waterways. Yeah, we build on natural water. If I have that close to where I live, where a man deliberately blocked, a channel for erosion, and today it is creating very big problem, very huge problem, in that environment. Now, this is the problem that the town planning offices in each local government area is supposed to be solving. But as I speak to you, that problem is still there. So when you have haphazard development, it is because of the fact that land belongs to the individual, it belongs to the community. In most cases, because there is no master plan, we just build the way we want. And that is why we see this emerging type of urban development that we have.
Okay, Doctor, Professor, you could tell that in recent times we've experienced heavy downpour of rains and, floodings. Would you want to tell that the absence of town planning has a huge role to play in this situation?
Yeah, it does have a huge role to play. Now, like you see, when there is no master plan, all these things we are experiencing in our town and cities are bound to happen. I was telling my students here, I said, look, the way it is today, if we want to take 30 years from now, I am not sure physically, Nigerian urban centers will be convenient and conducive for living, for working, for recreation and all that. It will not, because now we see these things staring in our faces. You see flooding, you see erosion, and you see all manner of, issues occurring as a result of the fact that there are no master plan. And what we expected government to do by setting up these agencies to help manage an urban environment is to go to work. We have emerging towns. If even you can no longer, I don't want to say you can no longer deal with issues in major cities like Asaba, like Benin, like Lagos. Of course, you can begin to, set up ways that we create urban renewal so that you take every segment, of such cities for plan. Maybe you can develop 5-year development plan for certain area, 2-year development plan, depending on the resources you have. So that with this, you know that okay, between 2026 to 2030, we are going to restructure, we are going to redevelop this part of this city. By the time you do that for 50 years, you must have gone very far. But you see, that plan is not in place in most of our towns and cities. And when you see the way these issues are staring at us and the way they are coming, for example, you mentioned, heavy downpour that occurred in the last 2 or 3 months. It is amazing. It is it's something that is almost beyond our control. Yeah, they will definitely come. Why? Because of the nature and the way we build. Now, I was telling my student yesterday also, we're looking at some of these things we have in our urban centers, particularly the infrastructure we have in urban centers. We're looking at roads. I say if you look at most roads we have today in our towns are self-created. Because they are no master plan, they are self-created. And for example, your local street, which is that your street you live in, is not supposed to have a width less than 12 meters. But today, if you take a survey round, you discover that over 60% of the roads that are self-created can hardly meet even 4 feet. And I told them that there are instances where you are driving on the road, somebody who is distant away from you will have to wait. You have to wait for you to go through before he goes. The reason is because a narrow path has been created, which is not able to accommodate 2 vehicles. This is what now, when there is severe erosion or flooding, they call it. Let's take erosion for example, and the volume of water is high. Because the road is narrow, of course, it is excavated, and that's why you have potholes, fake portions along these roads. And in most cases, we also know that over 80% are not even tarred, particularly in emerging urban centers and towns. But when the road is wide enough, even if it is not paved, you discover that the water is giving adequate width for it to flow past, therefore reducing the level at which it will impact on such road to create either potholes or fake portions and so on and so forth. So this is what it is.
All right, let's look at the issue of new cities. I believe that is a part of effort to conserve land or maximize land. We all are aware of how that Banana Island came up some of the areas in Ajah and Lekki where they had to reclaim part of the Atlantic, the waterfront,
Yes.
and all that.
Yeah.
And then now, you know, we are admiring those cities. Banana Island is like, if you don't have a house there, you are not happening. Now, recently, heavy rain. Did it take rain? But those places are flooded. And the water is like reclaiming. They always say water should always have its cost. I want to ask a question. All these reclamation activities, what was the role of town planners? Do they involve town planners to advise them on the impact of water on land and how much you can be sure that a land you have reclaimed for water is not going to be overtaken by water afterwards?
Yes. Now, Banana Island is well planned. Yes. But the issue is that certain other issues were not considered.
Okay.
Why they were intending or thinking of building that city or that area of Lagos. Now, don't forget that the prevailing condition that we have now is supported by what we call climate change. Okay. Now, heavy rainfalls are beginning to happen in our present time because I'm not too sure the issue of climate change will put into serious consideration. And I look at that place, I'm almost having a belief that it may be swallowed up in no distant time. Now, I don't know how much of impact assessment was carried out, considering that it's located very close to the Atlantic. You know, you cannot stop the rains because climate change is here with us. Because of, impact of, gases on greenhouse, which we have, and there is no control. Although I know that measures have been taken. Again, if you look at climate change conferences that are taking place all over the world every year, the COP10, the COP15, and all of that, the issues discussed are these issues. Now, the advanced countries, if you know, are making serious effort. Okay, we saw the earthquake that happened in Colombia recently. We also saw the flooding that took place in one of these European countries very, very recently. Of course, they know that if we allow this thing to continue the way it is without having to make laws and having to let agencies go to work and say how we can control it, have a serious problem. Now, they are already doing that. Of course, they are using technology to do that. But they are trying to reduce emission of these gases that will impact on climate in these areas. But how much of it are we admitting in our environment, particularly the African environment, and to drive from the Nigerian environment? Yes, we attend these conferences from day to day, and sometimes monies are given as aids, and all of that. We have never asked questions what these aids are used for. We have never asked questions. We have never asked questions as to how much government is putting into seeing how these problems can be curbed. Now, as far as some of us are concerned, of course, we may have them on paper. Because government will call you from time to time to say we are doing this, agency is doing this, Ministry of Environment is doing this and that. But you and I also know that in some cases it is difficult for us to identify what government is really doing. Otherwise, if they are up and doing, you see that some of these problems we have in Banana Island may not have come up. As it is there, so it is everywhere. Some places now become impassable. Some places have become uninhabitable. Why? Because of these 2 months of rainfall that just took place. Some places, some landlords and some tenants. If you go to a place like Benin, you'll see many areas that have been evacuated. Many areas where people have run away from their houses, and even other facilities like schools and medical facilities. A lot of people have abandoned such. Why? Because when they saw the volume of water that came down this year, and because of the fact that structures have not been put on ground to see how they can control this, not knowing that such a thing could happen, or even knowing that such a thing could happen, nothing is being put in place, and we managed to see that it does not impact this huge in our communities and in our towns.
All right, to nail this up, I know that there's one very popular town or city in Italy called Venice. It's built just on water, and it became a tourist attraction where you use boat to move around, and it's very interesting. But now the water is rising. And you said when you started answering my question that the fear of Banana Island being swallowed up. Now, is there anything that can be done at all, a remedial activity that can stop a situation where those places, because a lot of houses have been built there and a lot of investments made. So if we are foreseeing where they could be swallowed up, in time to come? Is there anything that can
Yes.
be done from your point of view as an expert in town planning to
Mitigate.
Yes, so-
mitigate
okay.
or even avert this situation?
Yes, something can be done. What can be done is to build, enough drains. Already they have a plan. I want to believe that that plan also may have drainages made in it. But again, if those drains were properly channeled, is another thing entirely. Because when you build drains, of course, they are supposed to take this water out and evacuate them and take them to places where they can flow into and all of that. I don't know how much of it have been done for Banana Island. Now again, we saw the encroaching sea. Of course, barriers can also be built to say they can arrest, the invading seawater. Because invading seawater, because these sea waters or the ocean waters will naturally rise when there is increasing rainfall. And when they rise, they will approach these lands that are adjacent or very close, to the ocean. So what government can do is to build the facilities required. It could be engineers could be involved. And many other discipline, agencies of government and all that can be involved. Ministry of Works and all the agencies responsible for things of this nature can be involved. Town planners, and all of that. Surveyors and all of that can all be involved to see a study that can be carried out to make sure that what is required to mitigate or reduce the effect of climate change and approaching sea levels in these areas can be minimized.
Okay, Professor, we could agree, or we would agree that we have the Ministry for Town Planning and, urban development. And we would also want to say, now we're experiencing floods in so many parts of the country. Would you want to say that they are not really carrying out their sole responsibility, or we want to say the FG is not, looking critically into that direction, or is the negligence in sight of the FG?
Okay, thank you. Now, town planning agencies or bodies in Nigeria are not bereft of what to do. They know what to do. They know what to do. When the resources are not there, it becomes a problem.
Okay.
Of course, when you submit your document to government and say, look, this is what it will require to get this problem solved, and government approach to it, is immediate, then the problem is solved. So they know what to do. Like I mentioned, when the resources required to do this are not easily available, already available, it becomes a problem. Secondly, we have this approach to issues in Nigeria, and it covers every facet of our development. What is it? Late approach to issues. Now this thing it's happening. It's not today. It's not last year. It's not 3 years ago. It's been happening. And we hear people cry. We hear people lose their houses. We have things happening, roads destroyed and all of that. And the question you ask, why is it that this approach, this late coming approach is always there? Now, it is not at this peak hour of flooding that what can you do really? That you now organize all you need to put in place to come there to arrange. It's too late. So my advice to government and to the planning agency is, look, it should be against next year or coming years. So when you have this, I say, okay, like talking about development plans, okay, now that we have this as a problem, let us see what we can do in the next 5 years. So set up a development plan. Now go to work. Look at the plan. Look at areas where it is not performing effectively. Look at if there are obstructions. Look at areas that need to come down. Look at areas that need to be renewed. These are the things you need to do. Then carry out immediate effect that will last for a long time. So now that this is happening, I expect that both the agencies, town planning agencies and government will go to work as what can be done in the years to come. So that by next year, we won't be witnessing what we are witnessing now. Like I also said before, again, if the resources are made available, that is only when these people can do what they need to do. Otherwise, we'll keep seeing this reoccurring. And if it does seen as reoccurring thing, it will mean that it is danger ahead for towns and cities, particularly those that are very close to the Atlantic.
Exactly. Okay,
To
thank you,
take care of
Prof. We've talked a lot about what the government and regulatory agencies can do. Let's now focus on the private sector, because given the housing deficit in the country, we have seen the private sector coming into the fray to augment housing deficit across the country. To what extent do the town planners who are in different states engage these private developers to ensure that even when they develop housing units or build estates, that these issues are contained, that they are able to provide the necessary drainages and comply with these directives, even as private sector players, because only government cannot do it. Government doesn't even build that much in Nigeria, as we know.
Okay. Private sector over time actually have been encouraged to be involved in housing development. But you see, like I always say, when you are talking of, let me just mention this categorically, that the deficit will always be there. Again, why? Because of the fact that the population of Nigeria, the growth rate of Nigeria population is high. As at now, its urban population growth rate is almost 3.4% annually, which is high. And like I also mentioned, I would like to say by 2050, the population is almost estimated at 400 million. Now, this is what it is. It's staring at us as we speak. Now, how do you meet this? It is challenging. Yes, the private sector have been involved, although it's slow. It's slow. Otherwise, if you go around town, how many houses, housing estates we will have in our towns and cities? They are very few, particularly developed by private agencies or the private sector. They are very few. Again, there are reasons why it is so. This has to do with one, government, and secondly, the investment in this sector itself. The investment in this sector itself. Now, how you discover that? Who are those to take them? Who are those to use them? Who are those to take them? And the cost of building materials today are also very, very high. Again, that is one reason why the private sector seems to be shying away from housing development. As it is today, the cost of housing seems to be rising, which also we all know is still to be rising. And the economy is not too favorable, as to align people, to get into this, to rent houses the way it ought to be. Now, also, the economy is not too friendly, for the private investors to go into this area, because every investor will want to recoup at the end of the day. So when the economic climate is not favorable enough, it discovered that it do not allow as many persons that want to go into that sector, to go in. Just as we have the problem of waste. Okay, if you see today, when in my state, for example, it was privatized, all the way, private sectors are allowed to come in. Of course, we saw a whole mass of people coming in, but you can see we have done a study on that now. Over time, we are seeing it dwindling. Why? Because the economy is taking a toll on people who are not able to meet up the requirements of those private individuals or private agencies engaged in waste disposal. So it is a problem. Now, considering the population that we have as it is today, of course, the deficit will only be there. But I know that the reason government has allowed the private sector to come in to see how to reduce the deficit. Again, if that is what is in place, now what are the conditions? How are the private sector getting along? Where are they getting mortgage from for those who get mortgage? And how favorable is the economy for people to want to go into these areas? Is what the problem is.
All right, let's look at it this way. You are a professor of geography and urban planning. I'm sure, as we are discussing, there are things that are concern to you as a person. Now, I want to ask, I'm sure you have a professional body, both national, state level, and of course, across institutions. How often do you meet to raise concerns that you communicate to government on how to make our urban cities, acceptably beautiful, acceptably aesthetic?
Yes, okay. Now, we have Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, which is a body for town planners. Then we have the Town Planning Registration Council and all of that. Now, they meet every year. to see how they can, parley with government over these rising issues that we are talking about, whether it concerns housing, whether it is flooding, whether it is infrastructure deficit or infrastructural problems and all of that. They meet every year. And in doing this, papers are submitted. Now, at the end of each conference, a communique is issued. And this communique, in most cases, in all cases, it is submitted to government.
Okay.
And why is it so? So that government can take action on the problems identified and solutions preferred. But like we always say, the Nigerian factor is always here.
Yeah.
So if you go to Ministry of Urban Development, for example, Ministry of Urban Development, and you also go to Ministry of Environment, of course, I'm sure you will meet some of these statements that were issued at each of these conferences in these places. Now, how they go to work on it is a different thing entirely. And why it is being treated the way it is treated is a different thing entirely. Like I said, if you give your mind, and that political will is there to see how these things, these problems that we have can be properly addressed, then we see how government will go to action quickly. What we want to see is that this thing is put into action as quick as possible. But if that approach has been used over time, you see that most of these problems to the largest extent will have been minimized. But that is not what we are saying. You live in Asaba. I live in Ekpoma. We visit Benin, we visit Lagos. And when you go around these cities, what you saw 10 years ago is still what you are seeing. As though, just like we were talking about students a while ago, our students come out with theses every year. This thesis, they identify a problem, they look at the problem, they write on it, and they prefer solutions or make suggestions or recommendations. Now, this is where government and the agencies of government and ministries, are supposed to come in. If we are in in an environment or a country where the issue of making livability or making cities functional environment, government may not need to go too far. Even agencies of government will not need to go too far. Come and partly with these institutions. The suggestions or recommendations are there. Put them to work. In addition to the bodies that we have, what they come out with on yearly basis. So they from time to time communicate the issue or they come out with. You will see they always submit to government. It's always there.
Okay.
But how government utilizes this is a different
another issue. Prof, now let's talk about the 2030 agenda. SDGs, of course, we're just 4 years away from the deadline. And one of the SDGs is sustainable towns and cities. The whole agenda is to make sure that cities around the world are sustainable. Talk to us about what a sustainable town or city should look like, and how close or how far is Nigeria from being a sustainable country generally?
Sustainable cities, you mean. Now, this is what it is. Yeah, we are journeying towards sustainable development. That is, putting measures in place to mitigate what we have, preserving the environment for the future.
Okay.
Now, I don't want to ask a question because we are not in the classroom. But you see, we have been discussing. Now that the environment is not giving its proper attention, now that cities are not giving proper attention, now that the issues, the environmental issues that have caused and are causing degradation and all that are not given adequate attention, then the question of having a sustainable urban environment, comes in. Now, yes, if, like I mentioned before, if government take every of these action that have been given, recommended from different places, different bodies, institutions, all of that, and even government itself, if they go to action, okay, by putting in place what they need to put in place, of course, we'll now be thinking, okay, we're already building for the future. We're already building. If the problems they are today persist, it will mean that even if we think of building for the future, it is too slow. Nigeria is growing humongously. That we know already. And one of the ways is population increase. Urban cities today, in fact, when I currently, urban population is almost, if not very close to 60. In fact, in some article they will tell you that urban cities have already grown 60 over 60 or 61% of the population of Nigeria now live in the cities. That is still huge. That is huge. And you know that the facilities available are not even adequate. That is another problem. Even the ones that are available are being overused. I'm not able to meet the demand of that population. It's a problem. So government investment is very important. It's key here. So if we want to keep our environment, urban environment for the future, then everybody will need to go to work. The town planning office has a role to play here, or agency has a role to play here. Of course, they will be playing that role. I'm not by this indicting government, because we all work together. Okay. Again, government will also tell you that because the resources are not available, that is a problem. Now, can you imagine how much was given to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, for my state, for example, in this year's budget? It's so meager that it cannot. If you look at that at the national level, given that government has a very huge, role to play, very huge investment to put in place for the Nigerian growing population. So if you see, it does not commensurate at all. What government is putting in each year, as you have in the budget for urban development, does not go near what is required. So, and if you look at it this way, you discover that sustainable development, okay, is and its own challenges. And what are challenges for the future? It's only what is one thing that is beyond my description for now. But I don't see it rosy, very rosy, except we arrest it and go to work with it as it is today.
All right. One of the language we hear from government for some time now, even though the time was when Gowon told us as a nation that the problem of Nigeria is not money, but how to spend it. And so we squandered it. Now the language of government is there's no money, insufficiency of funds. Now, the challenges are many. Because in other climes, let's take, for instance, Turkey. There's an old city called Istanbul. What's it called? It used to be Constantinople. It's not Istanbul. They have what they call the old city and the new city. Maybe that's what we have now, we call GRA. But what they do, they try to, that old city, conserve its state, beautify it, and still leave it in that state. So they use it as tourist attraction. Now, such project, now we are saying there's no money. With all the challenges of erosion, flooding, and all that not attended to. Is it possible for us to have old and new cities in Nigeria?
Yeah, it is possible. In fact, we already have one. I was part of what was put in place to develop a new master plan for Benin City during the Obaseki regime of Edo State. A new town called the New Benin City was planned. In fact, few of us were selected in Edo State. Then you had a major contractor that we worked with, and we did that work for about 3 years, and for about 5 years, sorry. And the master plan was celebrated. It was launched in the state capital. Then it was moved to the various senatorial districts of Edo State. Three senatorial districts we have. Now we did a very beautiful job. A very beautiful job. Now the land, where this new Benin City is to be built, actually was a land that was, taken from some communities in Benin area, Oredo, Orionwo, and some other, communities in local governments like that. Now, the reason for that is to see how we can disperse this growth rate that we already have and the challenges we already have in the old Benin. I will call it old Benin now. Like for those of you that know Benin City well, you know that it's a very large urban center, and the population of that place is also increasing. Housing is increasing, but you see that the problem that increasing population is having on infrastructure, not just housing and all of that.
Prof, please, we will stop you here because of time and other exigencies. Thank you very much for being there.
Thank you so much,
We'll
Prof.
be with you some other time. It's nice. And thank you again for giving us Aaron. He's doing very well here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Have a beautiful day.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. And you too.
From Professor.
Yes, that's the much we can take on that conversation, even though I know you were enjoying it. But you see, there are some constraints. I'm sure this was a network,
But
signal.
just to add, the last thought that Professor Jayfor was sharing was that it's possible to actually build.
Yeah, sure. That's what he was saying.
In
And
Nigeria.
yeah, he said it's possible.
Sharing news.
It's sharing news, but then the government will tell you there's no money.
Well, but of course we know that the prospect is there.
You know,
that the town planners believe that
all things are possible.
So they can actually begin to design these new.
Yeah, that's what he was answering. That they were called to do so. Yeah.
To the government about the places, what can happen.
What can be done?
Because sometimes, remember, the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. If we can actually have these new design cities and pitch it, sometimes it may not even be the government taking the
private sector
private
initiative.
Sector.
Yeah.
It can also be counterpart funding between government and private developers to resettle people from where they've always known as their ancestral homes and all of that.
No, people don't leave their ancestral homes. So.
Okay, so they will remain.
It's new one. They will remain there.
Okay.
But then you build it for new because everybody is going to the city now. He says 60% of populations are in the city now and in Nigeria. So
I would want to even relocate possibly.
You.
Yes, to a new city. Yes, because
Oh, new city. Yes. Okay. I thought you wanted to relocate to the village.
The reality is, if you're being resettled, you'll be paid. Yes, the government will pay you. The other time when
there's no money for that. Well, that's where we're going to end our program for today. Your thoughts on today, briefly, so that we'll wind down.
What I want to take from what Prof just mentioned now, that it's possible to have a new city. So we could actually, look into our cities, we'll plan and, know what is good for even both the ordinary citizen of the country. And also, I want to say, have a wonderful day and thank you for being with us on Morning Dew.
Yeah, Ify.
My thought for today is that if we can troubleshoot our deplorable roads and fix them, we would have gone far with handling insecurity in Nigeria. So government should take note. If we're really sincere about protecting the lives of Nigerians, let's fix our roads. See you tomorrow.
On the heels of that, let us look at a way where more funds come to the states and local government, less fund to the federal government, because most of what they call federal assignment are in the states and they're not being done. Kudos to our guys in the control room, Chika Ikechukwu, Nkechi Chukwudi, Uzochi Okere, and of course, Aaron. Thank you for bringing your dad on the show, Aaron Jayfor. Well, management of Dott TV, thank you for always the privilege. We'll do that again tomorrow. Wake up with us every morning.
We'll bring you news at its peak.
Accurate and factual report.
Morning Dew, where every sunrise begins with inspiration and fresh perspectives.